Hi guys, Matt from Mast here, Technical Manager, and in today's video we'll take a quick look at some of the Wi-Tek PoE solutions. There's quite a lot of different options available within the Wi-Tek solutions. Some of them you've probably all used before, some of them slightly niche products. But some great solutions to different scenarios that can get you out of jail in those tricky spots. Starting from my left, your right, you've got your simple things like your PoE injectors, so 30 watts and 60 watt PoE injectors. Really simple devices, take power in and gives you a LAN connection and a power out for your PoE device. Available in 30 watts and 60 watts, so a single device that needs power for PoE, depending on what power it needs, 30 watt or 60 watts. Anything really that uses a PoE source in a location where you don't necessarily need a PoE switch for multiple devices, but you've got a main socket that you can generate power from. Moving up from that, we've then got the PoE 6124, so the 24 volt converter. This is something that we've done a previous video on. For more information on this, check out that video. But essentially, takes in standard PoE at 48 volts and converts that to 24 volt passive PoE. So for any of your passive devices, wireless bridges, things like that, and that require a 24 volt passive input, rather than using a separate main socket and injector, you can use one of these instead. Really, really handy. Can also be powered via DC connection as well. Doesn't have to use PoE. We've got the more unique devices, so things like the PoE splitters, and these are both internal and external. As well as your PoE powered switch. So the PE51E, this is a 10x100 PoE powered switch. It takes a 60 watt in, so from something like a 60 watt PoE injector or a 60 watt port on a different PoE switch to a location where you might not necessarily have a power socket to run a standard switch. This can take in that 60 watt PoE and then gives you 4 ports out for you connecting devices. Typically going to be things like cameras, being only a 10x100 switch. You could, if you really wanted to, use it for networking, but we wouldn't recommend it just because it's not a gigabit unit. But in a location where you've got one camera on an outbuilding and now your client wants to add 2 or 3 in that location, but you've only got a single cable run, you've got no power in that location, you can disconnect the camera and take that cable into here and run 4 cables or up to 4 cables to your other cameras in that location. You do also have an uplink, so if you want to then run from that to a different location again, to another switch, for example, you can do that and you'll get network connectivity. It doesn't power or PoE pass through to that other switch, it's just purely a network connection on that port. Each port, 802.3 AF/AT, so up to 30 watts on each port, will fit inside a little outdoor rated box, not a problem, keeps it nice and neat, or obviously you could mount it internally, doesn't really matter. It does also support port VLAN mode via a little toggle switch, so each individual port is separated from each other. And you can also put it into extend mode, which will make all 4 ports up to 250 meters PoE from the point of source. So 100 meters from your injector to this, and 150 meters from each port on here to your connected device. 1 into 2, which again, internal device, takes a single PoE in and gives you up to 2 outputs. Now these little units, again, can be daisy chained to each other. So you can take in, say, a 60 watt power source, come into this, go out to one camera, and then from the other port, go to the next one. And with the 60 watt injector, you can link up to 3 of these. If you use a 90 watt injector, you can do up to 4. And again, each time you go through one of these devices, it does reset that 100 meter PoE rule. So you can get up to 550 meters from source to your final destination. They do support an extended PoE mode on that end point. So if you toggle that switch there, the outputs on that final link will give you up to 150 meters of PoE. Again, ideal for cameras in locations where you've got no separate power, you've got no way or means of powering those devices locally. The external rated IP68 1 into 2 splitter. So this is, again, 60 watt in, 2 30 watt ports out. So again, this is a full gigabit unit, whereas the others are 10-100. Ideal for your larger PTZs, movable cameras, varifocals, things like that. Access points you could run off if you wanted to. Full metal casing, nice and solid, IP68, so if it's going to go somewhere that is external, might get wet, might get damaged, might get knocked about, that's an ideal sort of solution for that. Comes with all your glands, to seal around your cables to make sure that they stay safe and connected. And again, nice and simple device. Input in, outputs. Any questions about any of the devices on show here, drop a message in the comments below, drop us an email, or give the guys a call in the office. We're more than happy to help you out. Cheers.